what is the lesson for Sri Lanka of the debt restructuring? I think the lesson is that it should never have to go through this again. I think that this is the lesson to be taken away, which is that Sri Lanka should never find itself in a similar situation where it needs to go through restructuring.
Conquer the world after A-levels. Join IIT. Register now.
IMF First Deputy Managing Director Dr. Gita Gopinath has emphasized that Sri Lanka must ensure the current IMF program is its last, urging all factions to work together for lasting recovery. Speaking at the Sri Lanka's Road to Recovery, Debt and Governance Conference in Colombo, she said the IMF remains committed to supporting Sri Lanka's progress. Highlighting risks from rising tariffs, Middle East tensions, and volatile energy prices, Dr. Gopinath stressed that the country has no room for policy missteps. She underlined the importance of sound fiscal policy to avoid future crises.
What is the lesson for Sri Lanka of the debt restructuring? I think the lesson is that it should never have to go through this again. I think that this is the lesson to be taken away, which is that Sri Lanka should never find itself in a similar situation where it needs to go through restructuring. I want to recognize that the achievements that have taken place over the last 2 years would not have been possible without the courage and sacrifice of the people of Sri Lanka. We all recognize this. The crisis was costly, it was painful, especially for the most vulnerable in society. And the reforms that were undertaken to address the root causes of the crisis. As the President said, it is a deep wound. It's not going to be healed overnight, but addressing those root causes, and among those root causes were, removing unsustainable subsidies. So when we have this cost-reflective energy pricing, it is trying to fix a problem that otherwise would give rise to a crisis again in the future. Now, these are difficult measures. They test social fabric, but at the same time, they are the foundations for a more resilient future. This is why it's now important to look ahead. We have stability, but we need to now focus on inclusive growth and resilience, especially given the global environment. There is a lot that is still needed. The poverty rate is at 24.5% in 2024, according to the World Bank. That is too high, and it needs to be brought down as quickly as possible. This will require continued commitment to macro stability, but also successful implementation of structural reforms. Tackling corruption will be critical here, and here the governments. Sri Lanka has delivered. We're at this midpoint where we are in a good place. The reforms look strong, progress looks strong, but we also have to remind ourselves of the risks. So the IMF has had, with Sri Lanka, we've had 16 previous programs. About half of them have ended prematurely. And the reason that has happened is because reform fatigue sets in, the hard-won gains get reversed, and so I think we can all agree that the country cannot afford to repeat this cycle. It is critically important to sustain the reform momentum and to do so in a manner that's inclusive and accountable. What does that mean? That means also engaging in public dialogue with civil society. It means greater transparency. It means speaking to multiple stakeholders, not just in Colombo, but across the island, because that will then ensure that policies are responsive and responsible. The IMF will remain a steadfast partner of Sri Lanka, and we very much look forward to working together to improve the lives of all the citizens now and future generations.
For more latest news, subscribe to FTTV.